Hi, I'm Construction Gamer and welcome to the Northern Powerhouse on Transport Fever. This is going to be episode number 1 in a hopefully long-running series in which I aim to connect up some of the largest towns and cities within the northern region. Now, strictly speaking, the Northern Powerhouse isn't really a place, but it's more of an idea. It's a collection of towns and cities across the north of England. It connects 5 of the so-called core cities of Liverpool, Manchester, Leeds, Sheffield, Hull and Newcastle. And what the idea is to boost the economy of the north by investing in transport links, in science and in education in the region, to try and boost all the towns across the north, all the towns and cities across the north of England. This is an introduction episode, so I should point out straight away that this map doesn't go as far north as Newcastle. This might upset some people, especially if they're from Newcastle, but it is one of the limitations of working with a 1x1 map, just trying to fit everything in that I wanted to. I needed to balance the playability of the map and just the geography as well. So within this map we go as far north as Darlington and Middlesbrough on the east coast, and then on the west coast we've got Dent represented there, Kendal and Oxenholme, and then it comes down to as far south as Stafford. Now technically, again, Stafford probably isn't really included in the Northern Powerhouse idea, but like I said, just wanted to balance playability of the map, and just with the geography and the rail routes that I want to put in place, it just makes more sense to have Stafford represented there. So we've got Burton-upon-Trent, Loughborough, Nottingham, and then Grantham, Sleaford, Swineshead on the east coast. So on this map, pretty much like the West Coast Challenge that I did with Transport Fever 1, I'll be trying to use real rail routes to connect the different towns together, so we can recreate a bit of the West Coast main line and the East Coast main line and a tiny bit of the Midland main line as well. And we've got, I think there is almost 100 maps, but I have pared this down a bit from what it was originally. This map, by the way, is available on, a version of this map is available on the Steam Workshop already to download if you want to go yourself. But what I've done is I've just removed some of the towns just to bring it down a little bit, because there was 100 or almost, I think it was 99 towns in the original map, and with my system and the playability long term, I just thought I'd take some of the towns away and a lot of the industries as well, because I really won't be doing too much with the industries. I'm more focusing on passenger transport lines, which is what I just prefer doing. If in the course of the series you would like me to take a look at freight trains and things like that, freight routes, then I could potentially think about doing that. We can always add in industries later on, so if we know that there's a freight rail route connected somewhere, we can add in later on an industry if we wanted to. I think by turning the sandbox mode on, we can just go in and change the map a little bit. But yeah, this is how the map is looking. It's not. I'm pretty pleased with it. It's not hugely detailed. Just put some odd little forests here and there, and done some contouring of the hills just to make them look a bit more natural. But yeah, this is going to be the map on which I base my new series going forward. Now, the ultimate aim is, if my computer survives linking all the towns together, is to experiment with a Northern Powerhouse rail, which is the ultimate aim of the Northern Powerhouse partnership, is to build a high-speed rail link between Liverpool, Manchester, Leeds, where are you? You are there, and Hull, and also improving links down to Sheffield as well. So it'd be nice to try and experiment with that later on in the game, but I'm just going to develop this on a town by town basis, or connecting a few towns up. It's not going to be historically accurate, because that would take a huge amount of research, and I probably could do it, but I just want to get on enjoying the game. I think the only historic sort of railway I'll put in will be the Liverpool to Manchester Railway. Will be the first railway built. Excuse me. But yeah, we've got a bit of time, and we've got plenty of towns and cities to play around with, so don't need to really rush into anything. Like the UK West Coast series that I did on Transport Fever 1, I will be playing this normally on medium, so I won't be using the no cost mod or anything like that. So the money we do earn, the revenue, we do have to earn it, and things we have to build, we have to take care not to spend too much money in the beginning, and hopefully it should work out. Now, I've had the game for 2 weeks just about, and I've experimented with a few things, and it does seem, although you can make profit just from doing passenger routes, and towns will grow. I've seen growth factors percentage wise of 110%, so we really can get the town to grow just by connecting up passenger routes. And we can also improve the private transport as well. It sounds a bit counterproductive, but it does add to the growth factor of the town. So I might think about motorways in this one, because we can build motorways in Transport Fever 2. We can't at the minute because it's 1891 and we don't have motorways unlocked, but you will be able to build them in the game itself. So we can take a look at that. Now, this segment was supposed to be a bit more of a let's play style of video. I was talking as I was building and I was recording away. The light on my microphone was lit up, but it appears as though I've lost the voice recording. I checked the cable, and the USB cable in the back of the microphone was just out a little bit, so we didn't get any voice recording from that from the session that I've just done. So I thought, rather than start all over again or just get rid of the footage, I'll just turn it into a bit of a speed build, which is what I've tended to do in previous series that I have done. For Transport Fever 2, I was going to do more of a let's play style where I talk over, where I actually talk and build at the same time. But I think for this we'll just do speed build. What I was doing and what I was talking about was the bus route that I'm setting up. I was thinking about setting up a train line quite early on in the game between Liverpool and St Helens, but I was just looking at the size of the towns, and they are quite small. I did set every single town that I manually placed as tiny, so the populations are around 50 to 60, which I didn't think was enough to sustain a rail route at this time at this point of the game. So what I've gone for instead is a series of bus routes connecting up. Initially we're going to be connecting Liverpool to St Helens. I also connect up Liverpool to Formby with a number of bus routes just to start those, to particularly start Liverpool growing, and then I switch over to Manchester and do the same. So Manchester and Stockport and Manchester and Rochdale get connected up again, just to get Manchester starting to grow, because one of the biggest new features of the game, which is one of the biggest aspects as I'm learning as I go along, is the growth factor aspect of the game. It really does make a big difference to how fast your cities grow and what sort of population you have. So it is important to make sure that your towns are connected up with good public transport networks, and you can make good money with or you can rather have good growth with just having public transport networks, but they do need to be you need to have quite a few of them connected up. And what I've learned just doing this little playthrough here that I was doing is I connected up Liverpool and Formby. I've connected up Liverpool and St Helens, but I was still only getting a growth factor of about 10%, and the actual number of destinations reachable by public transport were still quite limited. So yeah, I think if I'd put a rail route in, it probably wouldn't have been that successful early on, especially with such a limited population. But I do need to grow Liverpool, because what I want to do is connect up Liverpool to Manchester, which is what I did in the first UK West Coast series that I did with the Chot Moss line, but it's got to be a bit more accurate on this playthrough. The map it's still not to scale, but it's a bit better than it was in my other map that I created, and we've got a few more of the towns in place, like St Helens rather than Rainhill, because St Helens is a bit more accurate representation, and it just allows for the setup of the different lines. So yeah, what I want to do, going back to the point, is I'm trying to grow Manchester and I'm trying to grow Liverpool a bit more, so I can build the rail route between Manchester and Liverpool, which is going to be the first rail route that we put in place. So that is why these bus routes are quite important. Number one, they're making money, and we're playing the game on medium with no sandbox or no costs mod, so that's not switched on. So everything costs money, so we need to be earning money to build the rail routes that we want to. And the upshot is you're increasing, hopefully, the size of the towns at the same time. Now, as I was playing the game, I was noticing that even with Liverpool to St Helens, Liverpool to Formby routes in place, and even with Manchester as well, that the growth factor was still staying around 10%. The routes do rather start to make a little bit of profit. I was just explaining that they are struggling a little bit to begin with, but they do eventually make some profit, but they are not increasing the growth factor of the town. So what I end up doing is actually putting in a freight route, and I've just said at the start of the introduction to this series I won't be doing very much with freight, but I do need to start getting particularly Liverpool to grow, Manchester as well. So what I will be doing in a short while is putting in a freight route just to get to get some money, some revenue in, and it's going to be quite a good earner by the looks of things, early indications are. And also Manchester and Liverpool both require fuel, so it's a good opportunity to earn some money and to get some freight into, or some cargo rather, into Liverpool and Manchester, and that again helps the growth factor of the towns as well. So that should help to encourage them to grow a little bit faster, so we can get that rail route in, because I would like to get that in quite early on in the game itself. So I'm starting to put the freight route in now, after I realised that the towns really aren't growing quite as quickly enough as I would have liked. We are earning money now with the bus routes, and they are bringing in a profit overall, even when you deduct the property maintenance, but I would like just to earn a bit money just a little bit quicker and to get those towns to grow. So what I'm going to do is I have a oil well near Birkenhead, which represents the Tranmere oil terminal in real life. I've also got a oil refinery which refines the crude oil into usable oil, which is in the sort of Stanlow area near Ellesmere Port. And then I've got a further chemical refinery type thing which converts the oil into then fuel, which that's over by Warrington, sort of by where the Levers chemical plant is. So I've got a few factories in sort of real life locations, not hugely so, but they are a little bit. So I'm going to use those. And so first things first. I can't speak today. I can't usually speak, but it's even worse today. First things first, get the oil into the oil refinery. So bringing oil in just by road vehicles at the minute, down from the oil terminal, or the oil wells I guess, down to Stanlow, get that turned into usable oil, and then put in another road route. What I'm doing is making sure I don't own any of the roads. I want the AI to have control of those, that way we're not paying actual road maintenance on any of the roads we do build. Like the country roads, if you take ownership of them with the new ownership like padlock feature, then you do have to pay road maintenance on those, and I don't want to do that at this stage of the game. I want to keep things as cheap as possible. I've put a bit of a bypass around Ellesmere Port just to stop the emissions stifling growth there, and then what I'm going to do is connect up the fuel refinery to Liverpool, which needs fuel, so that's going to boost growth, and then probably in the next episode, or I might do it off camera, is I'm going to connect up Manchester to that fuel refinery as well, so we can start getting fuel to Manchester and Liverpool, which is pretty handy really, that they both need fuel, because I don't really want to be spending too much time bogged down with freight routes. I would like just to get on with the passenger routes that we need to get in place. Now I might at some stage replace this with a rail route just to get that oil flowing, but for now I'm just going to use the road vehicles just to get that production up and running in the early stages, and the early indications are that it is quite a profitable route as well, so that's going to obviously help the bank balance. So pretty much coming towards the end of the episode now, so I'm going to leave it there for today. The map is available, like I said, on Steam, or a version of is available on Steam, so you can download that. There'll be a link in the description. So yeah, like I said, I'm going to leave it there for today. If you've enjoyed the episode, please hit the like button, it does help channels get noticed. Well, that's it for today, so I'm going to say until next time, bye bye.